My name's Dilman Dila. I'm from Uganda. I'm a writer and I'm a filmmaker, majorly. Those are the two things I do. Most of my short stories, like, have been recognized in a few prizes. I haven't won anything, but I've been longlisted for the BBC playwriting competition, the Commonwealth Short Story Prize. There is the Short Story Day Africa Prize and a few other prizes. But my films have also won awards. One was nominated in AMA for Best First Feature, and then it won awards in Uganda. But I also won a few awards in Nepal, where I made a documentary. So briefly, that is me, and that's my work. I would say that the kind of ideology that comes into my work is often dictated by the life I've led myself. And I think of myself mostly as a social activist, but I wouldn't take on a case that has no personal connection to me. So most of the things that I deal with, I know as a human being, I experience things that other human beings experience. I will experience social injustices and that kind of thing. And so when I am writing or when I'm making films, often I want to discuss how I felt about these things, or how these things have affected my life personally. And so what I want people to do is, when they read the book or they see the film, maybe they will see themselves in these films and the issues that they've encountered. They will see themselves in these stories and in these books, and maybe they will change their ways if they are not doing the right thing, or maybe it will inspire them into taking action. But of course, the questions are normally not the big questions of the world today. Most of them are very simple and very personal things, like, how do you relate with your neighbor of the of another race, or how do you relate with people of the other opposite sex. So I think most of the things that I try to point out, it wouldn't cause like a revolution, but it will cause one or two people just to think about themselves and what their role is in the world and what their space is in the broad spectrum of humanity. Well, Uganda, I wouldn't say we've had a lot of literature coming out of Uganda, but the few that have come out of Uganda have had like an impact. Of recent, there have been a lot of arrests of people who have written books, but most of these books are critical of the government. On the whole, there are books like the one of Okot Pitek, the poet. So it's impacted it's given Ugandans a sense of achievement. Like, we have this book that came out of Uganda, and it's popular all over the world. But on the whole, I don't really want to say there has been a big impact on the social life of Ugandans, because reading is not, or books has not been our culture. People read, the educated ones read, but what I would say has a better impact on Ugandans is storytelling and oral storytelling, not just the folk tale kind of thing that used to happen before the social structures were disrupted by colonialism and imperialism. But it still happens today. There are now new stories, there are urban legends, and I know, like, where you find 3 or 4 people gathered, mostly children, some will be telling stories to each other, and there will be new stories, there will be also the old stories, and this has impacted social life in a big way. Like, growing up, there's things of human sacrifice. We have issues of human sacrifice, not just human sacrifice, but child sacrifice. And so growing up, some of the stories we used to hear were about not walking or not talking to strangers, or being wary of people who will cut off your head and put it in sacks, or being careful not to go in lonely places alone. So they will tell us stories that will kind of instruct us about or warn us about child sacrifice and human and headhunters, basically. And that kind of thing continues up to today. I think society or social things social issues that keep coming up. You'll find oral stories and urban legends coming up to either educate children or to try and explain these kinds of phenomena that is happening. Like at some point, there was a lizard that appeared in Kampala, a brand of lizard, just before Amin was overthrown. So every time something weird happens, they think, oh, there's going to be a change in government. But it hasn't happened with Museveni, but it kind of happened with the previous regime. So that is how oral literature kind of keeps adapting itself to the world and how it keeps affecting the country. I haven't been to many literary festivals, but I think Ake has a difference, or there is something really different about Ake, in that the crowd that comes here are really interested in literature. The other festivals I go to, you find people who are going to the festival not because they're interested in literature, but because maybe it's a fashion, or maybe they're just going to hang out, or they just want to meet the famous people there. But most of the visitors I'm seeing here are really, really interested in literature, and that's the kind, I feel it's kind of, that makes it special. And for me, like, I would love even to come back just to a crowd like this, where, people are really interested in, yeah.